Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. You might be wondering what this Jeepers Creepers drop-off box is behind me. Well, that's my target and ammo catcher. More on that later. Today I want to be talking about the forgotten survival tool, which is the slingshot. Now you might be wondering, why would I want a slingshot? That's a child's toy. Well, it started off as a child's toy back in the 30s during the invention of the inner tube, I believe, according to something on the internet. Anyway, a slingshot is a pretty effective survival tool in the fact that it's cheap and the ammo's relatively cheap, and if you have to find ammo on the ground for it, you know, there it is, a lot cheaper than bullets. But you know, you can really go into stealth mode with that thing, and it's very, very effective on small game. So a lot of people in Alaska and UK and other countries where you can't really have firearms aren't readily accessible and things like that, those guys are really, really good with slingshots. They're all over YouTube. And I would not want to break into one of those guys' houses if they saw me coming, because, you know, a steel bee to the forehead is really not going to be a good day for you. So what I want to do is start off talking about a slingshot that my great-grandfather made, and this is one of those. It's a dogwood handle. Now, chances are in the early 80s, if you bought a slingshot in Lincoln County, North Carolina, you probably bought one of these, which he had made. His name was John Travis. Been dead a long time now. Really cool guy. But the ones that he made, the old school style, see how the rubber wraps around the top of the forks and it's tied on here? So basically what happens there is the ammo goes through the forks. Okay. Growing up, I shot these. They're pretty effective. You know, all my grandpas, my dad had one, my uncles, everybody. And you can hit things and kill things with them. A lot of times we would shoot glass marbles. Usually the marbles that we had were way too big. If I'm going to shoot a glass marble, I like about a 5/8, you know, or 3/8 size marble, something like that. Marbles don't weigh as much as like a steel bearing does, so you know, you got to take that into consideration. Now, what he would do was he would take like chemical gloves. He would get them from some guy that worked at, I don't know, Duke Power or something like that, and he would cut them down and take, you know, old boots and cut the tongue into a pouch, and you'd put your rock or marble in there and go to town on it. He'd always leave a, you know, a little bit of bark here on the dogwood, I guess for a grip, you know. So this is one of my other grandpas he actually purchased from him, and I've kind of held on to this one. It's getting a little dried out now. I mean, it's got some lacquer on it, but I don't want to pull this one back. I'm just hanging on to it. So slingshots have come a long way, guys. A lot of things are different. The bands on these are just straight cut bands. They're, you know, about 3/4 of an inch or so, maybe even a 1/2 inch all the way down. So what I did was I thought I'd try something different, and I haven't done this since I was a kid, and I ordered this from a company called Simple Shot, and it's a polymer frame. Didn't know this at the time, but the guy that designed this was actually Zach Fowler, who the season 3 winner of the show Alone, and he had designed this and carved it out of wood, and they had replicated it. Pretty awesome little frame. I really like this because it's, you can see my hand here, about the size of it. So, you know, easy to stick in the pocket. Throw it in your back pocket. Throw a few, you know, steel balls in your pocket. Or this company actually sells, you know, those little coin purses that your grandpa carried around back when people didn't use debit cards. They sell those, and I think it fits like 15 or 20, depending on the size. But these bands are tapered. Okay, so these are actually, the taper is on these 15 millimeter on the thick end, or the small end, by 22 millimeter on the large end, and I think they're 270 millimeters long. So this slingshot was 20 bucks, guys, and it's pretty awesome. Now this uses a wrap and tuck technique, so it's not tied. What it is they've got this stuff called amber belt right here, and it wraps around, and then you tuck your bands in it and you wrap around and you pull it through itself. They've got instructions on the website. Check them out. Simple Shots, really good company. I think they're based out of Asheville, North Carolina. Really good customer service. I broke one of these, called the guys, wasn't sure if it was my fault or not. Long story short, they sent me 2 and a bunch of like extra stuff too, just because they're cool, I guess. I don't know. But their pouches are leather, and they have this hole, you know, right here in the back, so it kind of helps seat the steel bearing. Now these bands that come with this one, they send 2 sets usually, and One set is for shooting clay ammo. I've got some of that that they sent me, but I'm not using it. I just practice with what I plan on using it for. But you get 2 sets of bands with it, and the bands are cheap. If you want to cut your own bands and learn how to do that and get your tapers and all that stuff right, you can order, just a roll of bands. Now, for you preppers out there, I want to hit on this because you might think, well, why would I want a slingshot? What if the whole world goes to an end and I can't get latex anymore? Well, you get a roll of that stuff and keep it in your basement somewhere dry and cool. And I've seen some stuff online saying that it could last like, up to 10 or plus years. So you got a nice, if you don't want people hearing you, hearing your gunshots and things like that, you want to go out and get some small game, things like that. That's a really good way to go. Just learn to tie your own stuff. And I mean, these have lasted me, I bought this before Christmas, and I'm going to be honest, I haven't shot it in the last few months, except for yesterday. I practiced a little bit before the video. Not that great at it, but I was a little bit better when I was doing it there for a couple of months. Anyway, the bands are dyed, and that helps protect it against UV rays. These are a lot better than what you're going to buy at Walmart, these stupid wrist rocket things that every kid thinks is cool. They're not. These tubes bands suck. Now, the one cool thing about a tube band is you can order a roll of tube band and just make one long loop and put your pouch on it, and you can put your fingers, instead of using a frame, put it through your fingers, and you just have a band rolled up in your pocket that you could use as a slingshot. You could make it like full butterfly style. We'll get into that later, but these things suck. They don't hold up very long. They're easy to put on the frames, but you don't get the acceleration. So that's one thing about the tapered bands, is you get a lot more acceleration by design. Another cool thing about the tapered bands is the smaller end is towards your face. So if at any point your bands get compromised, and guys, check your bands every time before you shoot. You don't want to get popped in the eye. You might have a nick, you never know. But if you're going to pull this back and say, if you want to do your standard style shooting and you want to get a cheek weld on there or whatever, if this were to break, it's probably going to break here. So it's going to go that way away from you, which is a good idea. Now, what I do is, well, I'll get into it later, the shooting styles, but I typically do like a half butterfly, which is not what this length of band is for. So they're not going to last quite as long, because I'm pulling it back a little bit further than I should for this length. I haven't got into cutting my own bands yet. It's something I'd like to do. I just haven't had time. But this frame, so obviously this is over the top, not like the one my grandpa made, but it sends it just basically right over, breezing the top of the forks there. Now, I think that's better. I think it's more accurate, just because it only has like basically one direction to go, whereas if it's tied around here and you're going through the forks, it's going to kind of bungee up against that, so I feel like you're killing your accuracy at that point. But guys, like I said, for 20 bucks, these are stout little frames. They're easy to stick in your pocket, in a pack, something like that. So if you just walking around in the woods, hanging out with your kids, your buddies come over, you want to have a couple of beers, just plink around. It's a good, cheap way to have fun. It's also a good, cheap way to practice and hunt small game. Now, like I said, people in Alaska and the UK and things, there's videos all over the internet where they're hunting grouse. They're taking head and neck shots, squirrels, rabbits, things like that, which is why on this target I've got a soup spoon, and that spoon is about 1.5 inches wide, and about the whole belly of it is about not quite 3 inches long. To me, that's comparable to a large squirrel head or a rabbit head, so if I want to make a headshot on small game at, say, 20 to 30 yards, that's a good way to practice. And I bent the spoon around a piece of rebar, so when you hit it, it flips around, and you can hear it pretty good too. It's pretty cool. It's kind of like shooting steel target with your AR. Now this box, what I did, I just made this out of pallet wood, and I put a sheet in there and stapled it to the back, and I curved it around and stapled it down, so it actually catches the ammo. Now, this ammo is not very expensive. I think I paid maybe 20 bucks or less for this, and I think there's around 150 in here. You can see that I've got most of it still in there. because this sheet is catching all of my ammo. So I get most of it back except for what ricochets. And guys, watch out for the ricochets. Sometimes I hit up here. And I was standing at 15 yards yesterday and hit the top, or actually hit the spoon, and it somehow came back and hit me in the leg. It didn't really hurt, but you never know, it could be your eye or something. But these are 3/8 basically steel bearings, and like I said, you get a ton of these in here. You know, you can just throw some of these in your pocket. You're going to be out in the yard for a little bit, you know, waiting for your wife to come home, whatever. You just want to take a shot of the can or something. It does not take long to get fairly decent with this, and I'll show you in a little bit how I shoot. And you know, right off the bat, guys, I know I've got a little bit of slingshot experience, but that was years and years ago when I was a kid and I was shooting big marbles and the, you know, the clumsier slingshots, I guess, with the bands and all that stuff. I'm not knocking on my great grandpa's slingshots, but these are just a little bit more effective, I think. So a lot of times I noticed that when I started out, my side to side was pretty good. My vertical needed to be worked on. So it reminded me of, I used to shoot a lot of recurve, you know, bow shooting, and I do like well, with that you have to do the instinctive shooting. So you basically, you know, you sort of pull back a little bit, and then when you pull up and let go, you're not really aiming, you're not sighting down the arrow. Same thing here. Now you can sight these, and I just could not figure out how to, I can't do that. I think you can hold the corner of your fork a certain way and aim it. I don't know, I can't do that. I'm a firm believer in getting your mechanics right and doing the same thing every time, just like shooting a bow. Even a compound bow, how you draw back, you keep your elbow up, and you get a good cheek weld. I don't do cheek welds on this, some guys do. I don't like that. I'd rather hold it out here. That's why I do the half butterfly, where my thumb is you know, somewhere around here, and I can just feel it on my shoulder. So if you practice and just keep doing the same thing every time, then you can pivot your hips and, you know, your elevation, you will start hitting it. So I noticed that when I was missing very early on with this frame, I was hitting just around here. If I missed, it wasn't by terribly much. Now today, when we shoot here in just a little bit, that could be a different case. I haven't done it in a while. But super effective tool. They're really quiet. They're cheap, they're effective on small game. Like I said, pretty stealthy. It's just all around fun, you know. Now if you build one of these boxes, I made this one out of pallet wood because I've got a ton of pallet stuff laying around, you know, old bed sheets, things like that. Piece of rebar going through there to hold the spoon. Just drilled a couple of holes in the side. Really not a big deal, nothing special. But these things have a lot of power. Like I said, the tapered bands and everything. I was shooting through the pallet wood on the back end, and I was losing ammo. I couldn't believe at like 15 yards it was just blowing through that pallet wood. So you know, the sheet helped that and everything. But like I said, watch out for ricochets, things like that. And you can buy these style of target boxes with these little felt or sort of cardboard targets and things. I just chose to build my own. It's just, like I said, I've got stuff laying around. So pretty much hit on all of that I wanted to. So I'm going to drop back over here at probably, I'm going to say 10 yards, just to kind of show you I'm recording with my phone, but just pretty much how easy it is to do this. And you know, it's just fun. So let's get into it. All right, guys, I want to go over a couple minor techniques real quick, just to kind of show you what I've learned basically watching YouTube. So what I do is, I'm a fork choker. I choke way up on here. You can shoot it like this. I don't like that because if you pull one way or the other, it just kind of gets a little wonky. I like to hold it like this, and then that way when I pull out, I've got it, I can level my forks. Now you want to make sure that your forks are straight up and down as much as you can get it, okay? That, along with when you put your ammo in there in the pouch, I'll stick one in there and show you real quick. Make sure that you are pinching the ammo and not in front of it, okay? If you pinch in front of it, what's going to happen is when you turn it over on your finger, it's going to create like a little speed bump, and it's going to want to jump over your finger. Now what can happen with that is you can shoot your forks or your finger. I've done it. My wife has done it, so her whole finger turned blue for like a week. So keep everything nice and flat and just pinch that ammo, okay? Now, if you're just playing around, just pinking, you can pull your punches. You don't have to draw all the way back. You can just kind of pop something. And that's another thing too that kind of goes along with like hunting and small game and things. You got a raccoon on your porch or something, and you just kind of want to, you know, I don't want to get PETA after me or anything like that, but if you just kind of want to pop something real quick, you got a nuisance animal that really needs to get out of somewhere, or somebody might get bitten or whatever, you don't want to kill nothing, you can just pop it and it'll go. You know, like I said, just don't pull back all the way. Just one more thing is some guys like to flip their forks, like when they release, they flip forward. I recommend not doing that for the exact same reason. You could shoot your hand, you don't know where it's going to go. If you got everything nice and steady and your mechanics are the same all the time, everything's going to go a lot smoother, okay? Now, there's typically 3 ways that people shoot a slingshot nowadays anyway. So you'll pull your forks out, and some people will get a cheek weld, like on the corner of your mouth, or however, you know, kind of like when you're shooting a bow, you got the kisser on the bowstring. I don't do that. And also there's the full butterfly, where you just pull it out there and you're, you know, way out here with your arms. You've got to get really long bands, cut your bands really long for that, and guys, you can fire them off. The guy that invented the slingshot, that's how he shoots now. So, or designed, sorry. I do, I guess what's called a half butterfly, where I sort of pull to my shoulder on my pulling arm. So I'll get it out there, and what I like to do is I like to kind of pull it down first, and that way if you got any kind of compromisation, it would probably go ahead and break there before you go to make your shot. So pull it up, get it where you want it to be. And I don't have this pulled as far back quite as I want to, like not quite to my shoulder, because like I said, these bands aren't, the length of these bands aren't cut for this. I'm just kind of doing what I can with what I got right now until I order or cut some more. So but just kind of half butterfly, I like that because you got a pretty good amount of power behind that, and it's just comfortable to me. Maybe later on I might want to stretch my arms out like, you know, a butterfly, I don't know. But the cheek weld thing is not really hitting on much for me. You know, when I'm shooting a bow, even if I was shooting a compound bow, my arm's going to be out here. I think typically I do my knuckle to my right ear shooting a bow, and you know, I do my release. It's about the same thing, and I guess that's why I'm comfortable with the half butterfly. So I'm going with that. So let's take a few shots and see if I can hit this thing and not look stupid on YouTube, okay? I could edit it out, but we've had some problems with our internet, and I'm doing everything off my phone, so you get what you get on this one. All right, so like I said, just pinch the ball, not the front of the pouch. Pull down. And I don't know if you could see that or not, but I missed, but I only missed by like 3/4 of an inch or something. And I'm in about, I just walked it off, I didn't measure it off. I'm about, I'm gonna say 7 yards just for recording purposes with my phone. So let's try it again. And I will brace, you know, like these 3 fingers here. And like I said, just kind of work that however you can to make it comfortable. And guys, I'm getting pretty close. You hear it, I don't know if you can hear it popping that sheet. There's some wear spots in the back of that sheet. These things are powerful. You wouldn't think with the thickness of these bands being as small as they are, or as thin, but it's pretty cool the amount of power you can get out of it. And I need to work on my vertical just a little bit, bring it back up. Like I said, I'm recording, so I'm not getting my full perfect form here. This is all I got, but we're gonna do it. Oh, to the right. And I know you guys probably don't want to watch me doing this all day, but I want to hit it at least one time to show you. Oh, I'm so close. All right, I hit the top of the spoon that time. We're getting closer. Like I said, I haven't done this in several months, but it didn't take me like maybe a week to really start dialing it in. So There we go, guys. You see it spinning? All right, and it fell off. So, like I said, that spoon is 1.5 inches wide and not quite 3 inches long. So, head of a rabbit, head of a squirrel. I don't know what the head of a grouse looks like. I've never seen one up close. I'd like to one day. So, to reiterate a little bit, but not go over what I've already talked about, guys, stealthy hunting, small game, you don't want anybody to know you're hunting, and I'm not saying go hunt somewhere you're not supposed to, but you might not want to alert other people to the fact that there's some small game in a certain area, you know. So it kind of beats out a 22 in a way once you get pretty proficient with it. Hopefully I'll get there. Like I said, that's 7 yards. You know, I got within 7 yards or give or take of a squirrel today. So, you know, my wife threw it a cracker and it ate it. But squirrels are all over the place. One more thing. Squirrels can be whistleblowers in the tree stand. And I know you hunters know what I'm talking about, and I can't stand it. You don't have to shoot the squirrel if you don't want to, but if you take a slingshot with you while you're hunting, and one gets near the tree and he starts chattering and moving his tail, and he's going to let the deer know you're there. Well, okay, go back to a survival situation there. You don't want a little tiny piece of meat making a lot of noise, keeping you from getting that big meal. So guys, like I said, for 20 bucks and you get 2 sets of bands to play around with, and you get the stuff to tie the bands on. I mean, check out simpleshot.com. Really, really cool company. You just can't beat it. They've got better stuff out there, and I'm not trying to be, you know, a rep for their company or whatever, but if you think you might be into this kind of thing, it's a really, really good place to start. It's a really good company to start with. And I just, I think they're really fashionable hanging in the back of your pocket, you know? So anyway, guys, check out some kind of slingshot. Just try it out. I mean, even if you just go to Walmart and you get the little, what is it, $7 or $10 with the little, you know, tube bands. I mean, if that's all you want to put into it, try that. But I really recommend something like this. Okay, you can see that it's a lot more effective. Like I said, I've shot this thing. I've probably taken 20 shots in the last 2 days, and that's all I've shot in the last few months. I hit the spoon, so if that were a squirrel, I'd have a meal. Okay, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we will catch you next time. Pine Box Perspective, and we are out of here.